Do you mind answering a couple of questions from people that have popped up as we're watching this?
Sure, yeah.
So your lady friend Bonnie has said, was there much resentment in your life from people you've battled?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there is, but like for the most part, like I'm not I'm not like I'm not that type of dude. Like I always show everybody love, you know what I mean? Even when it wasn't like because battle rap wasn't always like quite a community the way it is now, where like people fuck with each other and there's friendships and like everybody like there are battles happening so often and they're out of town that everybody's staying at the same hotel and you know what I mean? Like that wasn't always the temperature. And even back then, like I would reach out to people, um, like I battled math and then we went to London. I went to London. I battled math on Smack, and then I was supposed to go to London on a tour with Fight Club. I went to London on a tour with Fight Club, and Murder Mook and Math were both supposed to come. And Mook told them he was at the airport. Yo, I'm booked to do shows out there, blah blah blah. And they were like, okay, like let me see your work visa, and they didn't let him fly. And then Math had gotten into like an altercation the night before, that was like some serious. It was a serious altercation, and I think he lost a friend of his, and so he just didn't show up. And then everywhere we went in London, they kept asking, "Oh man, I thought Math was supposed to be here, whatever." And so when I got back, I reached out to Math to be like, "Yo, like, um, I'm not a street dude like that. Like, I can't tell you how to respond to what happened, but like people in London is asking about you. You know what I mean? And like your man would want you to pursue that opportunity. I think. You know what I'm saying? So like, I always just feel like there's more that binds us than separates us, and so like it's always been important to me, to just show love no matter what. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't cost anything to be positive and reach out, and you can create more, collectively than you can, through separatism. You know what I mean? So I know there's resentment, and there's some people that I have issues with, just petty bullshit issues that I don't fuck with, or I'm annoyed, they annoy me, or whatever it is. But like nothing real, nothing that matters. You know what I mean?
That's cool because I think it's also good to share that because maybe some people are watching it and go, like how there's that phase with wrestling fans when they're young where they think everything's real,
Yeah.
and then one day you learn that it's not like necessary. I don't want to call it fake because I really respect the
Wait,
art of
what?
it. Okay, I'm having fun. That was fucking great. But like you kind of come to realize it's not as real as you thought it was, and it's
Yeah.
kind of scripted and shit. And not to say that battle rap is scripted, but that there's an act element to it. There's a character that gets kind of brought
It's a
into it.
performance art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a better way to put it than anything I was saying because I'm like, shit, man, somebody gonna get mad at me somewhere on the internet for that. Um, but like, yeah, and then the fact is, when everything's off camera, everybody's a person again, and that's like really kind of important to remind people. I think in the big picture because it helps them understand that this is a performance. This is just like a thing that people are really, really into. And I have to admit, since we last talked, I've watched more battle rap. I've gotten more into it. And like
Yeah.
even my girlfriend, like we were doing an album where she's like, I've gotten into the battle rap more. And now I'm starting to understand what's going on here with the bars. And a lot of that is like talking to you. And she's watching this. So she's hearing you. And like, we all learn from this. So it's fucking cool.
Dope.
We did have one more question, if you don't mind. It's from Ismail Gadamsi. Back when we were talking about the grind time style, you were describing how there's the streets and then there's other versions of styles out there. And he wants to know, like, as a fan, what is your preference? Which is your favorite style?
I mean, I always loved both. Like to me, I was like a holistic hip hop lover when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like I used to sneak out the crib at 2 in the morning and do graffiti till the sun came up. Like I used to try to break dance a little bit. Like I could scratch a little on turntables. Like I make beats. So for me, I was just like I loved it all. Like I used to know people that were just on some underground time and know people that were just on commercial time. But like I would make mixtapes that would have like Company Flow and Jay Z like back to back. You know what I mean? So I was always into both. I was always loved both. You know what I mean? I think over time, you know, you kind of have to leave, kind of had to leave New York City in a weird way, to find the tournament freestyle shit, because I think I mean, end of the week held the torch for like underground hip hop open mic, and their vibe is not is anti battle. Um, you know, the MC challenge was not a battle, and like I don't know why it kind of the battles faded, but like you used to have to leave New York for that. So I think over time I gravitated more toward the street style because um I feel like it ended up ultimately reflecting the environment more and speaking to me more because it just felt closer to the core of like of where hip hop came from in certain ways, which is funny because I think people outside of New York, you know, sometimes when you're outside of a culture, you like you said with wrestling, it's like there's certain things that you interpret a different way and maybe take more seriously. And I think a lot of people outside of the city, outside of New York, like made up their own rules that they interpreted that were much more orthodox than the rules that we had. You know what I'm saying? And so like it's funny that the written street style was something that they would kind of shit on. I think a piece of it is a little bit of racism too. And so I think for me, it's like just the language that's being used, the slang, the type of wordplay. You know, the freestyle shit really kind of went in a direction that was very like, you know, just jokes, a lot of homophobia, a lot of racism, you know, racist jokes at least that and then the kind of technical wordplay on the street side was a little smoother and a little more like mature in a certain way. And so for me, that just became like iller, more exciting. And then also it's like it's black and brown people that are the you know the people who are driving the culture 9 times out of 10. So like to navigate that space and to like be able to get accolades there, um, for me it was more meaningful than like going outside to this other kind of secondary interpretation of hip hop. Not to discredit it at all. It's just like for me, I want to be popping in New York. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to respect it at least. I don't need to be famous, but like, yo, this dude gets it in and he's serious about the culture and the craft. You know what I mean? So I think if I had to choose, I'd say the street shit. But I really was a fan of both. You know what I mean?
I really like how you answer that because it got me thinking, and those are like cool answers. And it's just stuff I've experienced where now I have a lot of people who give me a lot of opinions about music, and there are a lot of people who call a certain kind of hip hop better, but it's because they don't understand the New York culture that led to New York hip hop. So they call it better, and often they'll use the word lyrical as though somehow other stuff isn't lyrical. Anyway, I don't think people. You know what's great? Just on a side note, the same people who will criticize hip hop lyrical will then call like an 8 word rock ballad like the most
Right.
profound fucking piece of art, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
do know what you're saying. Anyway, lyrical
There's
is such
so
a
many words in a rap song, like so many words.